second half of this morning's Gone Outdoors. Kyle Agri and Scott Brewer of Brewer Agri Outdoors. Talking hunting, talking fishing, and talking anything you can do outdoors right here on Kello News Talk and KWSN in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and the mighty 790 KFGO Fargo. We're excited. It's always a pleasure to visit with this friend, Mr. Brett Waldera. He is our local, probably more aptly, a regional Muskie expert. Brett, welcome back to Gone Outdoors.
Hey, thanks guys for having me on the show. You know how much I enjoy talking about muskies.
We know how much you love talking about them, and we know how much we love listening. And I think our listeners feel the same way. There's always something to learn. There's always something new to learn about this this kind of almost a mysterious fish. At least for a lot of folks, it's, kind of has that mystique around it of a fish that doesn't show its face all that often, unless, of course, you really know what you're doing. Then I think some guys that are in that expert level like you and some of your cohorts, you know a little bit about what they're doing each and every season of the year. And that's kind of what we wanted to dive into, Brett, is we've had some really unseasonably warm weather. It hasn't just been a day or two. It's been a pretty consistent pattern as we've gone through the month of September. What is that doing to these muskies in the traditional fall patterns? Have things changed up a bit?
Well, yes and no. The first cold front of the fall, which usually happens late August, early September, there's always a big push of muskies to go shallow. And that happened a couple weeks ago with that massive cold front. I think some places even got below freezing in the northern region here, but we didn't see it quite that cold. But I know we were in the upper 30s and low 40s, and that pushed a lot of muskie shallow. And that was an excellent bite. I think it was 2 or 3 weekends ago. Fish were very predictable, very, very shallow. And it's kind of carried over the last few weeks. With this warming trend, the fish have kind of been in and out. Some mornings have seemed to have been better than evenings as the water warms up a little bit. The fish seem to push back out and move deeper, but they're right there in the mornings. And anywhere from 1.5 feet to 5 feet of water has really been kind of the key range. I know. Just the last few days, we've been putting muskies in the boat up very shallow still. So September is typically one of my favorite months to fish muskies. It's a lot of top water because the fish are shallow. It's very, very visual. Now with this warm spell, that's going to be extended into October. So I'm loving it.
It's interesting to hear you say that, Brett, because I know we had those 2-3 days when it got cold, but I wouldn't have thought that have made a difference. But apparently I am wrong on that. 1.5 feet of water. I mean, are we talking those are just the little ones, or are some of the big girls up there that shallow too?
No, the big girls will go up there, and that's what's just so fun. It's visual. I mean, it's people that get that rush from bow hunting and seeing, deer and everything. I think that's the thing about this time of year with topwater fishing or shallow fishing muskies. You can fish in bucktails and stuff too, but it's very visual because they are in a skinny water column. So you just see them. They come up on your lure and the water's shallow, and a lot of times they'll push a wake, or you'll watch them almost sharking behind your lure, darting back and forth as they're hunting it down, and it's so much fun. The last 2 muskies I've caught on topwater, I've had 1 foot of line out. They've literally eaten right at my feet, and it's fun, so much fun.
Hey, Brad, this time of year in the fall when these muskies are feeding heavier than they normally do because they're trying to fatten up for winter, do you see more hits and less follows? Or, because I know you keep records of all that. I mean, is your hit to follow ratio much better right now?
It is. I think it's kind of peak activity for the reasons like you say. It's usually that first cold snap that kind of tells these fish that hey, winter's coming. I gotta fatten up, and they move shallow and they get active. Now, again, weather trumps all, so you got to have kind of the right weather, the right barometer and stuff. But definitely, you get more the hit to site ratio definitely increases this time of year. Absolutely.
It's so interesting how, and we talked about this earlier in the show, Brett, but just how, the photo period and other factors other than just simply the weather really have more of an influence than we might think on these animals, these fish, and this wildlife. And it's just interesting to know how that progression moves. And certainly we're at a point where the extended forecast now is probably going to bring us more seasonal type weather. What if we were to assume typical fall weather from here on out to ice up? What is the progression? What are the different tactics and approaches and locations we're going to find these fish?
Yep, I would, right now the fish are going to be shallow, and they'll be shallow all the way right through turnover, which turnover typically happens around that 55-degree range. And so, topwaters, bucktails, fishing in water shallower than 7 feet is definitely, a primary tactic right now. Once turnover hits and the water, readjusts and gets a little dirty, fish typically move really shallow during turnover while that's happening. And then after that, when the water starts to stabilize again, they can kind of be all over. I mean, you can have muskies out in 30, 40 feet of water, or they can be up in 3 or 4 or 5 feet of water. It all kind of just depends on the weather and where they're finding bait and what's going on. But after turnover, you'll start seeing more people use the live bait, the big sucker minnows, which is a very, very good tactic if done right with quick strike rigs. It's not hard on the fish. For people that are just getting into muskie fishing, it's a great tactic. Just run down a break line or weed edge, and you're with a live sucker, and you're probably going to get in front of a muskie and have some activity. So that's a good way for people to get into the sport. And like I said, people will start doing it kind of right around this time, usually around that 60-degree water temp. But water temps, like you guys have mentioned with this warm spell, have been around 66 to 70 degrees still. So it's probably a little early for that sucker bite.
Yep, a little early, but it's coming, right? And that's the fun about it. You've got that to look forward to. Brett, as we look here at the season ahead, what are some of the restrictions? There's certainly in Minnesota, which I think is probably our biggest muskie as far as a state fishery goes. What are the regulations? Is there a closed season during the winter, and how long can we go out and chase these fish in the fall?
Yep. So for Minnesota, the season closes on December 1st. But with North Dakota and South Dakota, they actually have year-round seasons. So as long as you can find open water in those states, you can target them. Minnesota, usually year-round freeze up, usually around that last week of November. I know personally I'll go out and I'll break ice and I'll fish till the bitter end. But usually we are seeing ice cap on most of the smaller lakes in our region that last week of November.
Yep, it's about the time when some of us are thinking about venturing out on foot. Your pictures appear on Facebook with you all dressed up in winter gear, a little trail going out from the shore ice, and great big chopper mitts holding the biggest muskie I've seen in months and months. So you certainly earn it with your dedication to getting out in the fall.
Yeah, it's a great time. The muskies, they're feeding heavily right now. So when you catch them right before ice up, they're usually the heaviest. They have the most mass that they put on, other than when they're full of eggs.
They're getting ready, right? And Brett, we're up against the clock, but I want to have a chance for those folks who are listening who are really interested in sharpening their skills, honing their skills, and learning more about muskie fishing. An organization you were a big part of, you still are a big part of it, Muskies Inc. Where can folks go and get information? And just want to encourage them to take part and be a part of that organization.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. Our meetings are open to the public. They're the fourth Tuesday of every month. They're at the Ramada on 13th Avenue. We kind of rotate different rooms wherever they can find a room for us, I guess. So it's not always in the same room, but 7 p.m. at the Ramada. The fourth Tuesday of the month is when we have our monthly meetings, and they are open to the public.
Awesome. Encourage folks to do that. Brett, thanks for taking some time and visiting with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Good luck on the water.
Folks, don't go away. We've got a whole lot of good stuff ahead of us. We're going to take a quick break and be back with more Gone Outdoors.
Looking for somewhere to get all your fishing information in one place? Onyx Fish Midwest has something for you. Search for new fishing areas with filtering features such as species, abundance, trophy potential, lake survey info, regulations, and area insights are just a click away.
Getting to your target lake has never been easier with access points and public land ownership clearly marked on Onyx Fish. Mark and customize waypoints and weather for your exact location. Use code BA Outdoors to get 20% off Onyx Fish Midwest at onyxmaps.com.